good morning,
Hey y'all.
everyone. Charlotte, North Carolina, Mecklenburg County. Happy December. It's December 2nd, 2019. So
We already in December. It's crazy.
it's, as they say, the final countdown. So that's exciting.
Yes.
So we've got, 29 days left in this year.
Yes.
So first and foremost, I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, if you do celebrate that, and if you had a Friendsgiving, I hope that was fun. And I hope that everybody really took a second to breathe and be thankful for just everything that we have, not focusing on the things that you don't have or anything else, just really being happy and cherishing those that are around you right now.
And I think that's a great point because this year has been like great on one side and then horrific on the other side. And I think Thanksgiving forces you to say, you know what? Yes, I've had a hell of a year, good and bad, but I just want to be thankful for the good and understand the bad. And so it's a time for reflect. It's like everything stops. You're off, everybody's off. And even if you don't celebrate it in some way, it still gives you a time of pause and reflection.
Exactly. It's like I said, down to the final countdown, and one of the things that we can all be thankful for and really take notice of is there are people who are in worse situations, no matter what your situation is.
Indeed.
If you are fortunate enough to be a business owner or to be doing what you love or living in your purpose, then that is in and of itself something really, really, really worth celebrating.
Right.
That being said, you know how we do. So this week's topic, we are talking all about getting 2020 together.
Yes, we'll get that money.
Specifically, getting your funding lined up for 2020. I mean, yes, we're in 2019, but 2020 is less than a month away.
Yeah, we were just talking about a lot of things that we are booking. It could be consulting, it could be speaking engagements, corporate team buildings, or whatever it is. They are booking you now. So we're getting calls now for 2020. And so this is the time now to engage with those that you want to connect with at this time next year. And so don't wait. If you wait until June or July for a conference that's happening in November, you likely will not be a part of that conference because they get those things out normally 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, sometimes a year before the conference.
Yeah, depending on which level you want to participate in.
Yeah, and their budget. So you got to think their budget ends in July, so a lot of things are already booked out.
That's true. So let's start with the basics. So let's talk about our first ground level of generating revenue. Let's just start with, how do you make money? So how are you evaluating how you pull in money? So if you're like me, what I did was open up the books. The books, sometimes a little scary to do, but really said, how did I make money in 2019? Because we talked about a plan.
Right.
We always talk about plans, but sometimes things don't go as planned, right?
Right. And so as far as like what I do, I consistently look at my books. It's something that I try to do every week, and definitely every month. And it's good that you brought up the point of like, what did you make and what avenues of revenue are actually generating money. And that is something that each person will have to do individually. But when you're doing that, it may not look the same as it will look in that week or the month. You want to look at normally the quarter or the end of the year. So now is the perfect time to look at your books. And if you didn't do a good job of bookkeeping, because I've had business owners as soon as I bring up bookkeeping, they go into like try to explain themselves, and I try to let them know most business owners are not good bookkeepers. And that's why you have QuickBooks and you have other type of systems to help you. And even with PayPal and other places that take up payments, there's a way that those places, you can pull them all together to see how much money you're making. You should be tracking cash payments and all those things. So bookkeeping is definitely hard to do if you do not do it consistently, is my point. You want to do it weekly, monthly. You want to do it as you bring them in, just like you would balance a checkbook, in which we don't do that anymore, really. But that similar fashion is how you want to do your bookkeeping.
Exactly. So, there's a saying, the best day to plant a tree is today. or yesterday, the next best day is today.
Right.
Which means just because you've continued to do something wrong or poorly, or skipped over months, or you weren't perfect, or we stopped paying for that system because we couldn't afford it, whatever your excuse is, today is as good as any day to start going back. I will tell you what I do when people do start that explaining is I tell them to start with the stuff that you can put your arms around. One, bank accounts.
Yes.
You have a bank account, you get money in. Count it up. If you use PayPal, you Square, you use any of these other systems, count it up. That's it.
And that's a big thing. So with Square and Cash App and PayPal, transfer that money into those to your bank. Because that report will be in one place. It's not mandatory that you do that, but it's less you'll have to do at the end of the year. If you're transferring all the money into your bank account, you don't have to go back to Square and you go back to PayPal. Now the great thing is you can pull a report, even on Cash App, you can pull a report of the funds that's coming in, but you're going to have to highlight the ones that you didn't transfer. It just makes it more complicated. And this is something that my accountant got on me 5 years ago. Was I just had things all over the place, and it was the best thing was to transfer. Now you can transfer to different banks. You can have more than one bank aligned because you may want to have a certain amount in this bank. And I have 2 banks or more banks because I want to build relationships with more than one bank. That's just something with credit unions and with banks. And that comes down to sponsorship, some things we'll talk about later. And another great thing about keeping good books, as far as you, Dr. Shante, if someone comes to you and they don't have good bookkeeping, you're less likely going to see them as someone that will be responsible as far as someone that potentially could be invested in. You want to make sure you at least have access to it so that you can be prepared when those investors are interested. Not to say you get denied, but...
Well, I'll tell you this. I am not judgy. So I know that generally when we talk to people in general,
right,
math is probably next to going to the dentist for a lot of people.
Wow.
I don't want to have to do that work, or I'm scared to look, or there is no judgment on my part. You have to know what you're bringing in. You have to know what's going out. Those are the 2 basics we look for. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be the end-all be-all, but if we're talking about, it's come down to the wire. I don't know how we really did made it all year without doing this, but start with the money in. Great. Now, also, most bank accounts, if you have online banking, there's this fantastic tool that tracks your money. So if you pull in that report, whether it's your business account or your personal account, hopefully you have separate accounts, but if you don't, still, go through this exercise, and literally the system will generate a report to tell you where your money went.
You better pull up the report. Pull up the report.
So for a lot of people, they are really surprised at how much money they spend on food.
Right.
On
Ubers.
Uber was a big one for me.
Me too.
Miscellaneous little 99 cents here, $3.99 here, and I would tell you financial advice, and a lot of advisors say, look at all the things set for automatic payment.
Oh yeah.
That is something that we should all be reviewing all the time, but we generally don't. I will tell you that my business had several automated things that we didn't even know passwords for. Now that is shameful.
Wow.
So we're paying $29.99, $39.99, small little amounts here or there, but that stuff adds up quickly. And then when you multiply by 12, you're like, do we really just spend $500 on an account we can't even access?
Right.
So that being said, start with the basics. So when you are going through your books, ask yourself 2 questions. Where did I make money? Where did I lose money? Those are the only 2 questions that I feel are really the foundations and necessary for people to ask.
And I think that's great because we also want to add on funding. So we're going to talk about ways to add on funding. But if you could retain some of the funds you already know you're going to get, and that's added onto your funding as well. So decreasing how much you're spending is increasing your funding into 2020. So I think that's a great point.
So for me, for example, I like to say, okay, I thought I was going to make money in 5 different ways. Everybody thinks they have all these multiple streams of income.
You do.
I have a lot of them,
Yeah.
but I can tell you there are streams that I thought was just going to be, booming.
Yeah.
That I made $0 in. And it's necessary to just be honest with yourself. Now, you could say, well, maybe I wasn't good at that. I didn't promote it. If you didn't make any money in it, then there may be reasons, but you don't have to do the deep dive. Just look at what made you money. So for me, what made me money? Speaking. consulting, and then I absolutely made some money on investments. Those are my 3 revenue areas. Now from there, how do I want to make money next year? And that gets us into how to fund next 2020, right? So how do I want to keep these 3 and build on them? Do I want to keep these 3 and add something? Do I want to scrap all 3 and do something new in 2020? It's a whole new decade.
Right. And I was watching, it's a guy named Malcolm MJ. He's like a financial consultant. He got really popular by just speaking organically about how he made money. And MJ was speaking about, he kind of changed my mind on something that, you know, I've been encouraging business owners to kind of take the leap, you know, after a year, 2 years, at least, you know, attempt to take the leap. And he was talking about how actually working a 9 to 5 is another source of income when you're thinking about funding and thinking about adding on business, but then having 2 or 3 other side things that you're doing. And it's no different than an entrepreneur doing more than one business. And so he really changed my perspective on how the 9 to 5, make the 9 to 5 work for you and use that revenue to build on. So for those that, you know, when you're ready to take that leap, but it's also, if you need to get a 9 to 5 or a side job, I have a better understanding of how that can really benefit you and your other businesses, because he talks about how he used that opportunity to fund things around him from things that business had.
Yeah, I mean, that's important. But again, look at how you made money. So for all of your entrepreneurship talk, if how you made your money was at a 9 to 5, be honest with yourself.
Right.
There is no shame in that. And I think one of the things that get wrapped up, especially in the Black business owner community, is we start to demonize people with W-2 jobs.
Right.
We start, well, if you're not working for yourself, then you're blah, 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 blah. Some people love their jobs.
Right.
I know several people that love their jobs and don't want to be an entrepreneur, so we have to be careful not to demonize. But again, how did I pay my bills? If you don't want to look at how do I make money or how did I make money, who pays the bills?
Right.
You know, if that's a 9 to 5, leave it as a revenue line and then say, you know, in 2020, do I want to make a plan to exit?
Right.
In 2020, do I want to make a plan to get a promotion and have more money? But again, you're assessing your revenue generation. So.
And then once you look at your bookkeeping for your business, you may see that you actually make more than you are making at your 9 to 5. And their 9 to 5 may actually be in preventing you from making even more money because of the time that you invest. So those are the things I literally had to, when I was teaching, I had to look at how much of an hour would, if I had the capability to do something else, am I making more by being a teacher during this 8 hours that I'm working, or would I be making more doing something else? And how I came up with that decision to, you know, fully be an entrepreneur was when I realized that those 8 hours were being used to call other people that had nothing to do with teaching. And my students looked at me one day, my phone rang, and they was like, oh, that's just a business call from Mr. Dawkins. And I was like, oh, this is getting a little bit too serious. Even though I was on my break or whatever, because students used to come in during my breaks, I realized I'm more focused on my business than I am on teaching. And so it's time for me to take a pause, take a break, or leave. And so I'll just say right now I'm taking a pause, but I'm never going to say that I'm not a teacher.
And I love that. So I'm going to say hello to Lorianne and Natasha, who are commenting online. But Natasha just made an excellent point, and I'm going to probably steal this line from her in 2020. She said your 9 to 5 can be your business's silent investor. That's powerful. Is your silent investor literally the person fueling your dream? Is yourself, but it's your 9 to 5. It's the thing that you're grinding in. So I love, 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 love that.
Especially if your 9 to 5 is one of those jobs that you're passionate about. Like for me, teaching was a passion. I didn't feel like I was working most of the time unless they made me do stuff that it wasn't teaching, which that's when I got, you know. So it depends on that job. So if you find a job that aligns, and especially if you find a job that directly aligns with your business. So if your business is about financial consulting and you work for a bank or you do something for the bank, those relationships that you build will definitely benefit your business. It's not something that you want to just come out there and be like, I got a business and, you know, whatever. But then when it becomes a conflict of interest, that's when you know it's time to move on.
Absolutely. So let's switch gears and talk a little bit about lining up gigs. We talked about us already moving into the second half of the year for 2020. Let's talk about setting up gigs in order to get your business funded or continue to generate revenue for your business. So what methods do you use in order to go ahead and seek out those opportunities now that are going to generate revenue for you next year?
Yes, great point. So, as far as Dr. Shante and I, we both do keynotes, but she's more of a keynote. I am more of a corporate team building. That is more that I focus on more, but I do get keynotes every now and then. And so we'll have two different perspectives on this. But how I go out and get businesses to book me for corporate team building is the relationships that I've already made with like Geico and GE. I'll reach out to them and do a happy holidays. Thank you for hosting a team building with me on whatever date. And it's a generic letter that I have saved in my notes or saved in my email. And thank you for booking me on this date. I look forward to working with you in the future. This is my up-to-date contact information. And that works like 50% of the time. Normally the person will reply back and say, happy holidays. Yeah, we're going to book you, Cathay, for this, and this. And another thing that I do is, let's say for clients that I don't already, have not worked with already, I will make sure that I look at the calendar. I literally Google and see what, and this could go to keynotes as well, see what conferences, see what opportunities that businesses are doing or what they're interested in. And I'll reach out to them and include some of that research that I did in the email. So if I'm reaching out to, let's say I'm reaching out to LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is all about corporate team buildings, and I'm actually trying to build a relationship with them now, and I think it's working. But I reach out to them and I say, I love what you're doing with diversity and inclusion, and I would love to be a part of the conference that you have going on this date. But also, here are some ways that I can help benefit LinkedIn by doing these type of corporate team buildings on a local or national thing. And so doing your research and tying that into your introduction is more interesting to whoever's going to be on the other end. And so that's how I do it. I look at the calendar, and I'm thinking that's maybe how you do it as well. So I don't want to go too far into it, but you actually have to research and look at what the missions are of the organizations that you want to work with, and see how you can align yourselves with their mission.
Yeah, so I heard a couple things that you said in there. One is, so we talked about looking at your revenue. How did I make money? Part of how you made money is your previous clients.
Yes, most of them.
As soon as you identify, oh wait, I made money at corporate trainings. Great. Who did I make money with? Let's do the reach around.
Yes.
If they've already had a good experience with you, your chances of booking them again are extremely high.
And they have different departments. So with Novant Health, and I've done at least 8 corporate team buildings with them over the last 5 years, and that's because one department, the credit department, may call me, and then a different department may call me, or an employee resource groups that they have. So they have groups that are all about women. They have groups that are all about diversity. Those groups may contact me because a lot of the people that I've already taught are in these employee groups, and so I'll reach out to the employee groups and say, are you interested in hosting a team building? And I've got gigs. And I didn't really, think about it, because this is something that I do, but it's like I didn't see it as a strategy. But also, when you have these experiences, find out where people go to church, find out what they do, because those are more opportunities for you to host events at their church, host events at their schools. And so you want to take the time, once you book them, you want to take that time to learn as much about them as possible to retain your relationship with that person or that business.
So what we tend to say is this: previous clients that have had a good experience not only will rebook you, but they will pass your information on.
And yes, they will.
So the referral network is always, and I will say always, and I will 100%, I never say always, stand behind how most people make their money, right? I did a service, that service was good, that person took that, good experience and then passed it to people they know that need similar service, and that's important.
Yes.
So absolutely, one of the things that I do as far as keynotes, generally people don't recycle the same keynote, but what I do is say, hey, can I have a reference?
Mm-hmm.
You know, can I have a comment? Can I have a testimonial? And then I say, do you know of anybody else that might be hosting an event or, you know, something in the same vein? And they say, sure, you know,
Yes.
and they will send you, hey, such and such is doing blah, blah, blah. And look, I now have a warm introduction with a good warm handshake with somebody who said, I've already had a good experience. I can tell you from being a speaker or booking those kind of training gigs, the biggest question mark in the world is using somebody new.
Right.
If you're the person that's got to put your name on having produced an event, you don't want to use nobody without references, without testimony. You need all of this other stuff. So I 100% agree on the using previous clients and then using their referral network. I will also add to that and say, what I have had to do as a speaker, decide what it is you're going to speak about.
Mm-hmm.
Choose your topic, be specific. And this is, again, I know I covered this probably a few weeks ago. If you are a speaker, you cannot speak about everything.
So basically find a niche. Like your
Figure
niche.
out what your thing is. I feel like I read a lot, so I may know a little bit about a lot of stuff. However,
Smart.
if I tell people I'm going to speak about everything, I can tell you I'm not going to book things. Right? So I need to say, what is it Shante focuses on? Dr. Shante is coming as, right? And so I define those. And once I've defined those, then looking for the calendar for 2020, I'll give you an example of a search I do. When I'm looking for new opportunities that I don't have warm leads on, okay, great. I do female investing, right? And as a female investor, I'm saying, okay, what conferences are talking about female investing?
Right.
And I can do a worldwide search. And then what you'll end up seeing is, oh, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of conferences all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take the time and say, you know what, I'll make a spreadsheet, here's the website, look for their call for speakers. Some of them are already out, some of them aren't. And then you literally work down that list. Now, if you have already decided what your topic is, and you are already, you know, kind of got your 3 things that you checkpoint, your proposal to them as a speaker becomes really easy, right? Because you're saying, you know, I don't have to change it, I don't have to manipulate it, I don't have to do all this other stuff because I am in an area I know. I can cater it and tailor it to people that are going to be looking for what I have to offer. And then you're taking less of a quote leap, right?
Right.
It's not as risky, even if you don't know them and it's a cold call.
Right. I love that. I love all of that. And I like how you know, when you're talking about like how you retain people and how you would ask questions. Because I was thinking as you were saying that, you were saying, I literally would email them and say, or talk to them in person and say, do you know someone that is looking for a speaker? Do you know? Because my motto for 2020 is closed mouths don't get fed. And because I see that my humbleness and my pride has prevented me from landing certain things because people automatically see BBOC, Dr. Shante, they don't need us. They don't want my business. They're too busy. And I realized that I have to basically reach out to people and say, we do want your business. We do want your funding. We do need your support. And when you do that, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know BBOC needed that. I'm going to reach out to so-and-so to see who else can help you with this particular thing. And also when you come to the table with funders and lenders and people that you are connected to certain people, be very direct. It's like a relationship. When you go into a relationship and the beginning of the relationship, you need to be clear of, is this just a friendship? Is this just we meet every now and then, or this is a serious relationship? And because the end result will look like whatever you said at the beginning, because that person can say, no, I don't want a serious relationship. And the same thing with business. When you sit down with people and you network and you be clear on what your objectives are, because when people reach out to me, a lot of people reach out to me on LinkedIn and they'll start the whole typical, hi, so-and-so and so-and-so, whatever. And they're all over the place as far as how they want to connect. But if someone says, I'm starting a career hub and this is what I do, or I'm a career coach and I see that I could help BBOC in this way, I'm more likely to respond and say, yes, I understand. So that niche, they know what they are doing. Be very specific.
So that's how I tend to line up gigs. I will give you a pointer and also say, if you are really serious about booking corporate, or whether it's training, whether it's speaking engagements, whatever it is in between. Make yourself a goal of applying or putting in your proposal for, 2 to 3 a week.
Mm-hmm.
So that way now, you won't have 100% close rate. I mean, none of us are Michelle and Barack Obama.
Right.
Right? So, or not yet. But what you want to do is give yourself enough shots on goal in order to really build out a robust pipeline all year long. And I would challenge you to say, go at least 6 months out. So when I do my searches online for cold opportunities, what I'm looking for is everything in 2020. Literally from January to December. Now, I probably will have missed anything from January to March because the timeline is really shrunk now.
Mm-hmm.
It's right around the corner, but anything after, March, April, fair game. And you've got plenty of time, generally, to put your proposals in. So, we talked about bookings.
Yes.
And previous clients' previous experience. Now, how else do we fund businesses? So, we'll take a little detour. We'll talk about grants for a minute. We'll talk about nonprofits. Now, y'all know nonprofits is not necessarily where I hang my hat. But if you are going to be writing grants for 2020, guess what? Grant cycle proposals has already started.
Yes, indeed.
And quite frankly, it's really no different than what we just talked about, right?
Right.
You need to be looking at the organizations who absolutely are doing the kind of work or doing the underwriting for the kind of work you do and putting in those proposals. That's it. And if you're not doing that, if you're not being diligent in that regard, then, you can put that on yourself. But grants take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be, again, submitting a couple of proposals or at least working on a couple proposals every week in order for you to have a robust pipeline for grant funding. Remember, the grant funding cycle is extremely long.
Right.
Meaning, if I put in a grant today, I probably won't look for funding till June?
Right, and they'll tell you what those, when the deadline, when the first announcement will be made, when the first allocation of funds. And another thing about grants is if you apply for a grant, you need to make sure you meet all expectations. Because you could land that grant but not have the relationships, not have the infrastructure that's needed to really retain that grant. Because once you build that relationship and they see that you do it well, you'll likely continue to get grants from that organization. And so, and another thing about grants, a grant and a marketing sponsorship. And if you don't know the difference, sometimes some companies, they combine the two. So a grant, it may say like a marketing sponsorship grant. But for accounting purposes, you need to know that a grant is they are giving you funding because you're 501c3 and it's a tax write-off. For marketing sponsorship, they are paying you for a service. So it's a for-profit thing. And so think of marketing sponsorship as they're paying me to put because I'm putting their brand in a place, so they're paying me for a service. A grant is not a payment for a service. It is they're giving you funding so you can operate, so that you can do programs, so that you can do, and that's the two differences. And if a person comes to me and they say I want to write a grant and they combine the two, I usually be like no, because you got to know the difference, because you could get BBOC in trouble if you're not putting that. You're not separating the two because they're totally different. Now, again, there are some companies like Wells Fargo. They have two different departments. They have a grant department and they have a marketing sponsorship department. They're going to try their best to put you under the grant because it's a tax write-off for them. But it's different departments there that you may, and there are different grants within each department. They have a diversity inclusion department. They have a department that's about supporting locally. They have different departments. They have different grants, so you can apply for all of them.
So, sticking with nonprofits and grants for a second, when we talk about grants, keep in mind that is philanthropic funds that they don't anticipate really having you do any particular service. If you're writing a grant to put on a program, they expect you to put on the program.
You better put it on.
I mean, that's the expectation, right?
Right.
So, I would say, as you look at, again, assessing how your organization performed all year long, then saying, okay, these are the programs or the, key areas we're going to operate in. How do we fund that for 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Once you define that, then you're coming back around and saying, who is it that funded us before? Can we go back to them? If they had a good experience, the answer is probably yes.
Right.
Because they have data, they have traction, they can see, they've already seen the program get deployed, so they will re-up,
Mm-hmm.
continuously to continue to support your initiative. But then on the flip side of that, if you're moving into a new area, for example, it's going to be a little more difficult, but you can use that data and you can use that track record that you've built with the other programs that you've done. So nonprofits are a sticky wicket, but I will tell you this, if your nonprofit also solicits donations,
Absolutely.
this is the time to solicit donations.
Giving Tuesday is tomorrow.
Donations is not a grant.
At all.
It is not the same. Generally, again, look at who has given to you in the past. If we're looking at closing out the year and making donations to organizations to support, to continue to support yada, 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 Giving Tuesday is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that you are choosing organizations that align with what you do.
And right now, between now and December 31st, there is money. So my team, we're going to reach out to some organizations this week because there are money that some businesses have to get out by the 31st. Mm-hmm. And they're literally looking at who can I support that aligns with our mission. We're going to lose this money if we don't get it out by the 31st. So Giving Tuesday was intentionally placed around this time because it gives the opportunity for those organizations to release those funds that they've been holding all year. And so now is the time to reach out to organizations and to see, it might be $100, it might be $1,000, it might be $10,000 that they may have over here that they need to disperse to you, but have your house in order. Get your bookkeeping in order, get all of the things that you need so that you can land that grant and in practice. Like Dr. Shante was stating, you may not be a grant writer, but if you can write a proposal, if you're good at writing, and you can do a grant, and all you need to do is learn, research as much as you can, and actually just try. If you don't get it, you don't get it. But that experience will, every time that you do it, you'll get better and better. And once you develop a template, you definitely need to change that template for each one. Mm-hmm. But once you develop a template, you'll at least be able to see, okay, this is kind of, what my organization is all about. That proposal should entice you for your own. You should read it and be like, I'm interested in my own organization just by reading this proposal.
I would say the most important thing for anyone soliciting grants or donations in this time period is data. You have to have outcomes and measurements.
Absolutely.
At this point, there is no excuse for not having measured. You said all year long you were going to be supporting, for example, youth in the community. How did you do that? How many people did you touch?
Not a book bag.
But what did you actually do? So I was a friend of mine. I went to high school with Jasmine Crowe, has this wonderful organization called Gooder. And I was reading, the thousands of pounds of food rescued. Like, that is data that is generated. Literally, you're saying, this is an outcome. We said we are going to reclaim food and solve food waste. This is how many pounds that we collected. So that means all year long, what were you doing? Measuring and tracking, right? If you do youth programming, that means you didn't just open up the door and say, everybody come in. You were counting those kids. Hey, this is how many people we served. Right. You are very specific, and the more specific with those measurable outcomes, and when I say measurable, I don't want to hear everybody had a good time when it came to my event.
We need numbers.
Quantitative. The qualitative stuff is great, but quantify your impact.
I love it.
Every time you can do that, whether that's a business owner, so in the for-profit area, we call that value proposition. Can you quantify and show your value proposition?
And look at our November the 4th episode on Apple Podcasts. But keep going.
And then on the flip side, if you can say, if you're a nonprofit, how do I measure my impact? The people I said I was going to reach, did I reach them? The answer should be yes. And if the answer is yes, how?
And then internally, you could say, we didn't meet this mark, we didn't meet this goal. How can we better meet that goal next year? And now is the perfect time for some, a lot of businesses. It slows down in December, and people on break. Some people may be busy, but like for instance, BBOC. We did a lot this year. We did more this year than we probably did in all the 5 years that we've existed. And we don't constantly think, okay, we did this, we did that. Those numbers are there because we retained the numbers at that time. But now is the time to combine it all together and say, we made sure this many business owners have opportunities. We brought this much economic impact to Charlotte. This is the time when we sit down and we calculate all those numbers. And you'll start seeing posts of this is the economic impact for the whole year for 2019 that BBOC did. And that's going to help us with landing funding in 2020.
So we'll jump back out of nonprofits, but just wanted to always make sure we give nonprofits a little bit of love and say, a nonprofit is a business type, which means you should also
Absolutely.
be getting funding to do what you do best.
It is a business, and you need to operate, and you need funding, and you need to pay your staff. So see it as a business.
Yes. So we're going to switch gears and talk about something that I don't know that all business owners really feel like they can benefit from as far as funding, but sponsorships. So, and I hear a lot of people say, well, sponsorships are maybe for a specific event, but I will tell you just from my own personal experience in looking for sponsorships to carry forward in 2020, whether that's I do a lot of travel. I definitely have a bit of style, I'll just say. And so, a little bit.
All day.
But, literally when we're looking at sponsorship, I know people who have shoe sponsorships. We have people that have bag sponsorships. If you are, for example, a financial guru, you may be looking at sponsorship from like American Express or from FICO or some of these large organizations that need to get their word out, but they need advocates. And those advocates are called, are under the guise of sponsorships.
Absolutely. And I would say if you don't see yourself as an organization or event that needs sponsors, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because there is sponsorship dollars are just as big, if not bigger, than grants. And businesses want to align with you so that they can, give themselves more exposure. And so when I go to like a football game, and I look around, if you notice, it's sponsorships everywhere, from banks to lenders to Burger King it's everywhere. And you should have the same mindset for your business. Every time that someone pulls up to your event, it should be sponsorships everywhere. It's not tacky, that's money, okay? And this is something I had to change in my own mindset. I had to see that, when I saw that, I can't remember her name, but it was a news anchor that her wedding was 100% funded. And I can't remember her. I'll think of it by the time we end of the show. It wasn't Star. Was it Star? Is it? No. I think her name was Star.
Star, okay.
Yeah. And so her entire wedding was funded 100% by sponsors. So she didn't pay a dime for it. And it was very extravagant. And so in her show was on Oprah featured it. This was like maybe 7-8 years ago. But yes, Star Jones is her name.
Oh, Star Jones. Okay, Star Jones.
Yeah. And so her wedding was 100% funded from sponsorships. And sponsorships can be small, $100, $500, and sponsors don't have to be a major corporation. You can reach out to someone. Let's say you're doing a donation drive, and you want to get shoes for the homeless. So of course you can reach out to Nike, and you can reach out to Visa, and you can reach out to others that will give you sponsorship dollars. But you can also reach out to local runners and people that are in the tennis industry. You can reach out to people that may have a shoe cleaning business or may have a shoe design business or a designer. And they may be willing to sponsor because you're going to bring their niche audience. And they may not, of course, not the people that you're serving, the homeless people, but the people that are going to come to that event and see your event. They want to be a part of that process and they want to give also. And so don't limit yourself when it comes to sponsorships. Really think out of the box when it comes to sponsorships.
So here's my few do's and don'ts when it comes to seeking and then securing sponsorships. One, now you don't want to look like a NASCAR, right? You don't want 700 patches everywhere where you
can't when it comes to like some businesses are very specific and say how many businesses are you going to have in this area, and I don't want to pay you if you're going to have 10 businesses over here.
Yeah.
So
you want to be specific. So
very.
again, when you narrow it down to what is it that my niche or my area really is, then you start looking at who does advertising. Are they reaching my community? So, if you are Black, if you are Latinx, if you are Asian, if you are a man, if you're a white man, whatever your niche is, if you're a woman, doesn't matter. Are they reaching my community effectively? If the answer is no, there's an opportunity there. So for me, it's, okay, I represent women investors. I represent Black women investors. I also represent people who came from life sciences. So I have a healthcare background, and I took a quote alternative pathway into business.
Right.
Okay, are we trying to get more people in on that path? If the answer is yes, those are all specific opportunities that I can identify and say, hey, let me make a proposal. And I will say what I've found with sponsorships is you can be very opportunistic. You can say, they may never have thought of sponsorship.
Right.
You literally say, hey, I do this X, Y, and Z, and I reach this many people to get measurable outcomes. If you work with me, I can get you in front of my audience, which is, let's just throw out a number. I reach 10,000 people every day.
Right.
If you reach 10,000 people every day, especially in a group that organization, whether they be large or small, doesn't reach, but they like new avenues, new ways for them to generate money.
Right.
Then you can say, hey, let's work together. If, you underwrite the cost of my event, underwrite the cost of my travel, pay for, supply, whatever, then all of a sudden you become a branded sponsor for that brand, and then you're making money for yourself, you're introducing them to new customers, and hopefully you've done your homework on that brand so you can feel good about introducing that company, product, or service into your community.
Right, and another way that you can get their interest is, for instance, in BBOC, and this is for those that may have a social enterprise or may have a business or organization, and for those that run a Facebook group. The more people you have access to, the more they'll be interested. So with BBOC, they say that we're a social enterprise. And so not only are they aligning themselves with BBOC, they're aligning themselves with 1,000 members, like the Black Chamber of Commerce. They're aligning themselves with all our members. And they know that not only will those 20,000 people in their group see it, but when they share it, it's going to reach their base as well. And if they're affiliated with all these business owners, it is giving us, we're not only sponsoring one, we're sponsoring hundreds. And so those are the things that you need to actually worry. You don't let them come up with that, you tell them that. And so you figure out how can you maximize who you are. And it's not it's not a resume, and you shouldn't do it on a resume, but people do it. You don't flub it. You don't make stuff up. You give them real numbers that they can research, but you brag and you show people who you are, and do not hold back from that. Because if you hold back, that could be the one thing that prevents you from getting that sponsorship. You need to show them as much as possible of how many people that you're engaged with. Now, I'm gonna knock you out. I'm so into it. We're talking about getting the money. I want to make sure you get it.
So, at the end of the day, if you've never thought about sponsorships, it doesn't hurt you to just take a look. Take a look at what you do a lot as a part of your business. Take a look at the communities that you interact with. Take a look at your reach. Take a look at who might be interested in talking to the same people you already have a relationship with, and then go from there. I will say, my biggest pet peeve, I get asked to sponsor events, people, speaking series all the time. My biggest pet peeve is people don't know what I do. So if you're going to solicit a sponsorship, know what it is that the people or the person or the company that you're asking for the sponsorship from, you have to know what they do.
Right.
You have to know what's important to them, and you have to know their mission. So you have to do your research on me to know, she wants to talk about these couple of areas, clearly from my website, from postings, whatever. Make sure you do your research, and you can say, like, I get people that all the time say, you should, help us, sponsor some youth programming. Nothing in my profile says I do youth programming.
That is a good point.
So at the end of the day, I'm going to say no, not because I don't think youth program is worth it. I'm not like, forget those kids. It's not me. It's not my core mission. It's not a set of the things that I do.
I think that's a great point, and you've made it clear that healthcare, women issues are the things that you're focused on. And even when you reach out to organizations, when you do that research, it may not always be financial support. That BBOC sponsored maybe 24 events this year, but a majority of the events, our sponsorships were catered to how we can help that event be even better. It wasn't always, not to say that we didn't give any funds, because we did, but a majority of that was we use our resources to help that event. We sponsored it in certain ways, and we made clear of how we sponsored. And so what happened is, we will announce, and we say we sponsored this event, and I'll get 12 to 24 3 people say, you sponsored this event, so why don't you sponsor us? That's not how you need to approach it. You can say, I noticed that you sponsored these events. I would love for you, never force or never, if Shante doesn't say, she says no, then you get on Facebook and you say, but she didn't support the kids. Those things, you may not think that it's tracked, but it's tracked. Yeah. And you want to build a rapport with people that you want to help you. And so do your research. Be respectful of how you approach them. And yes, you can say that, I see that that's a good thing. When you go and you see that you have a similar event, like Essence and does an event, and it's, a black event, we look at those and we say, these organizations sponsor Essence. And now they have a relationship with Essence, of course, but because I see that they sponsor black events, they may sponsor this event because it's black. If you see that Nike sponsor these youth programs, reach out to Nike if you have a youth program, and they may sponsor yours as well, especially if it has an athletic type of thing in it. And so do your research.
So in our last few minutes we're going to dedicate generating revenue or getting funded in 2020 to the side hustlers. Side hustle
is you can make a lot of money, just don't, make sure it's legal and all. Because a side hustle can be legal. It does not have to be illegal.
It should be legal. Here's a disclaimer. In your business, Dr. Shante Cathay Dawkins do not endorse anything.
At all.
So.
In stop.
But that being said, let's talk about this. We'll switch gears and just talk about side hustles very briefly. If you are looking to generate revenue or look at breaking into an industry, a side hustle is not necessarily a bad thing. So side hustles can be anything from, the stuff we see in our quote gig economy, meaning be an Uber driver, be a Lyft driver, do grocery shopping. I hate grocery shopping, so Instacart is my friend. All of these little services, you can literally pull in extra money to support whatever it is you're trying to fund or support by doing these things on the side. Also, if you have a design niche for, I know you're creative and you create things, if you like making bracelets or jewelry, you can absolutely do that as part of your hobby and turn that hobby into something that makes money for you.
And get it incorporated. So there's simple things that you can do, so at least the legal side of it is taken care of in case these things jump out, because you never know. Like with me, I have my abstractions company. It's an LLC. Now, each year, the money, I'm not making a whole lot of money off of it, so my taxes is really small, and I do a lot of write-offs and a lot of things so that I try to save as much when it comes to taxes. But I am prepared just in case a warehouse calls me. Let's say Nordstrom's is interested in a certain thing, because this can happen, and Nordstrom needs 10,000 cowhide clutches. I want to make sure that I'm ready and to fulfill that order, but also that I have my taxes and all those things ready, because they're going to want to see how are you, can you handle this amount of business? And so that side hustle just turned into, could possibly a multi-million-dollar business because I was prepared. And so when we say side hustle, know that you want to have the legal side of it. It's side hustle just means that it's not your 9 to 5. It's not your main job. And I always tell people to have side hustles. At the end of the day, if I need to make $1,000 next week, I know I can go in and make a painting. I can create a bag. I can start something. I don't do that as much now. Like as far as like I need to make the money, let me go do this because I want to do what I want to do. But it's like I know that I have that to fall back on, and that security is so. It's a great feeling to know that I can fall back on this if I ever need to. But how I do it is when I want to create, I create.
So, just kind of the final summation on a side hustle or, an extra activity that you already do that someone else may be willing to pay for. Take stock of what you're good at, what you enjoy doing. Now, I personally don't advocate for people to take something they really, really love and turn it into a business. Because generally, if you really, really love it, you're not going to be a good business owner because what you're doing is pouring into the passion. And so you may skip over some of the legalities or the money-making efforts of it. And you don't want to be bitter about the thing you love doing.
Right.
So, there's a balance there. But, there are people who love doing hair or people who love doing makeup and they watch 11,000 YouTube videos and they like making YouTube videos. I was just trying something new. I was trying this product. I have several friends that do product reviews. Why? They really, really love makeup or they really, really love hair products. And what they did was set up a YouTube channel, do what they love, tried it, and all of a sudden they started getting people saying, hey, I was wearing streets about that too. And all of a sudden they started making money from the advertising.
Right.
So, if there's something you really enjoy doing, you can monetize it. You can turn that into funding that will either be pocket change, could be your vacation money, it could be next Christmas for you. But if you really have something that other people are willing to pay for, it might be worth exploring.
And it might just be a 1099. Like you don't have to always make it a business. It could just be you doing a 1099 and you filing it with your personal taxes as something that I did on the side. The government that's why they have that, so that you can do these side things. You're a freelance person. And it means you're not a business, but you are making money, so you're filing a 1099 and you're filing your taxes under that, and you just make it clear, this is how I made money, and that's why they have the 1099. And so it don't always have to be an actual business. It could be literally something that you're doing to just make money on the side.
You should know the difference between being a freelancer and being a business owner.
Well,
freelancer
some people
is literally, I like writing.
Right.
So I will write here or there for various people for various things. You have a lot of freedom. I think generally you have a lot of autonomy as to what it is you want to do. You're freelancing. You're putting it out there and saying, I don't work for you. I, do what I want when I want. I will fulfill this order, if X amount of words or whatever. But the second you turn it into a business, that is a different structure.
It's all totally different.
So freelancing and owning a business are two different things. I tend to think freelancers and side hustlers go hand in hand. But
I think that's a good title to give yourself instead of saying I'm a side hustler. Say I'm a freelancer.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying call yourself a freelancer, and that kind of gives you an escape from being a business and legally a real legal thing.
And you can say, you know what? I may or may not make money. I'm doing, I made a little bit of money, but I'm not stressing myself out running a business.
Right.
So we've covered a lot of ground. We talked about assessing your revenue and where you make money. We talked about securing opportunities in the next calendar year. We talked about grants. We talked about sponsorships. We talked about donations. We talked about side hustling. So I think we've done a good lay of the land as far as getting yourself, whether it's your business, whether it's you, whether it's your hobby, whatever your passion is, getting that funded in 2020.
I think so. And I think it could go on and on and on. But at least we gave you a jump start. And take this time. I mean, this is the end of the quarter. Take this time to really prepare. The more you prepare, the more you will prosper.
I like that. We'll end on that note. So this is the end of the year for us because we have to take time to prepare and retool for 2020. So in your business, we'll be taking our holiday break. Yes. So holiday meaning my birthday and the holidays.
Right.
So we won't see you for a couple of weeks. However, we will be out and about, and I think we probably will do some community sourcing to see what it is that you guys really want to hear about and really want to see us do. If you want to see us do more interviews,
Right.
if you want to see us talk a whole lot more about a specific topic, we'll really dig in and really try to do the same things that we tell you guys to do every single week. So
I've received so many emails and texts about us interviewing other people, and so shout out to Chef Andario for coming in. A lot of people saw that interview and they now want to be, so that was one of the original goals, that we would interview people, but we do want to get a survey. We want to hear more feedback, and not always be about yourself. If you reach out to us, let us know some ideas that may not pertain just to your thing, like how can
promoting your business.
Your business.
Yeah.
We get that a lot, and it's like very self-centered. Like, how can we become better as a podcast and live show so that we better serve the community?
Yeah, I think that's all good stuff. So are you going to be out and about in the community?
Yes, and so tomorrow I will be at the Charlotte Post brunch that is about trademarking and copywriting, and that is you can go on BBOC's page and I shared it, and let's see what else would I be doing, because it's just the whole month of December. I have a lot of meetings, but as far as public things, I'll post it on there because I can't think at the moment of where I'll be. But I know tomorrow I'll be at the brunch.
Good. For me, I will be gearing up for 2020, but I believe I'm going to be doing a couple of really fun things. I'll be on another podcast hosted by the Queen City Podcast Network, Fun with Failure.
Love that. I will be in support.
I think that's not going to probably air until in January, however. That'll be exciting. Also, I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit and say I'm one of the inaugural, there we go, Charlotte NO People on Fire for being
awesome.
a community advocate. So
congratulations.
I am super excited about that. So this is the first year Charlotte NO is recognizing people doing various things in our business community.
Yes, that is awesome. So
I'll be excited about that. I believe the award ceremony is over in January as well. But that's going to be exciting, and there are a lot of really cool people that I already know and I'm connected to.
That is awesome.
On that list. So I will have a big December/January, and I can't wait to share it all with everybody.
All right. Oh, I think we have a members meeting. There's some. Okay, now see how it comes to me. December 20th, we're doing Operation Adopt a Family. Between now and December 20th, we'll be collecting donations. So you can go to Cash App, and it's the money sign, BBOCLT, and you can donate for Operations Adopt a Family. We're trying to give gifts and food to up to 50 families. On December 20th, we're hosting the Black Christmas Party, and it's the 3rd annual event. It will be at the venue, which is on 171 West Trade near John C. Smith University. We'll be collecting donations on site, and then on the 21st, we have a membership meeting. Our members are going to talk about what we're doing in 2020, and we're going to be sorting those donations and dropping them off for families that are in need on the 21st. So go to BBOC, check that out, and thank you, and we'll see you in 2020.
Yes, please do give. Don't think about just yourself. You know, you can do it without another Apple iPhone or iWatch or whatever it is, and think about people who really are in need. So I, of course, will be supporting and making a donation, because this is not the time to really be self-centered. So
thank you.
Happy holidays to everybody, and we'll see you in 2020.
Happy holidays. Be blessed.